What's up everyone? In this video we will look at different breathing techniques allowing you to reach your desired state of performance. So you want to feel more balanced? Do you want to feel calmer? Or do you want to feel more activated? Well, I've got a solution for these three options. Before we get into this, I just want to reiterate how remarkable it is that we have this muscle called the diaphragm, which has the ability to create pressure on our heart, and that pressure subsequently sends a signal through the brain to either increase or lower our heart rate. So in other words, we have this wonderful ability to modulate our respiration to achieve a desired state, physiological state. So I'm still amazed by this feature of our body that we actually don't make enough use of. Now, let's talk about some key components required for effective conscious breathing. So, as I've just mentioned, the activation of your diaphragm is part of this. If you're still not sure if you're doing it right, put one hand on your chest and one hand on your abdomen and inhale. And feel which part is expanding. That should tell you how much you activated the diaphragm. So you should feel your abdomen expanding. If it's your chest, try to expand the belly in a more deliberate way as a way to activate the diaphragm. So try to expand your abdomen forward to forcefully or deliberately create an activation of your diaphragm. Second component, nasal breathing. So breathing through your nostrils. Why is that, or why would that be important? Well, because there are specific receptors located in parts of the nose that help modulate the autonomic nervous system when breathing. So there are these receptors built in the nose for the purpose of helping you modulate your autonomic nervous system, so your fight or flight response and your rest and digest response. So let's make sure we use all the tools at our disposition. And so breathing through the nostrils is part of the optimal breathing approach. And that one can be very difficult if you've never breathed through the nose before. One trick I can give you to practice this skill is to force yourself to spend more time with your mouth closed. This will force you to breathe through the nose. So right now, I'm picturing everyone checking if they have their mouth opened or closed and trying to breathe through the nose. And this might be funny, but that's how it started for me. I was listening to a podcast, I don't remember which, but for the rest of the episode, I paid close attention to see if I kept my mouth opened, or if I had my mouth closed and if I was breathing through my nose. So that's my challenge for you in this video, starting right now. Try to remember or pay attention to see if you're breathing through your nose or if you're using your mouth to breathe. Slow and deep inhale. So here we're looking to have a high volume of air coming in your lungs. So we want to make sure we take enough air in so that we can lower our breathing rate, right? And so that we don't have to take an inhale every 2 seconds. So the higher the amount of volume of air that you take in, the lower you'll be able to reduce your breathing rate. So if you're taking air in for 1 or 2 seconds, what will happen is that you'll need to breathe in again in 2-3 seconds. But as you'll see later, sometimes we want to have breathing cycles that range between 8 and 12 seconds. So you'll need to take deep breaths, slow and deep inhales, so that you can manage to take slow and deep exhales as well. Finally, the length of your exhales compared to your inhales will influence your activation level. So if we had to put it simply, the longer the inhales, the heart beats faster. The longer the exhales, the heart beats slower. So we want to play with this ratio, try to increase our exhales if we want to slow the heart down, and maybe increase our inhales if we want to increase our heart. So that's kind of a rule of thumb that if you're trying to figure out what kind of activation level you're looking to get at, just try to increase or lower one of the two. So lower your inhales or exhales, or longer them. That's your choice. Let's look at this breathing framework here to actually help understand the different types of breathing techniques. So these 3 breathing techniques you can use whenever you want to reach either a balanced state, a calmer state, or a more activated state. So you can basically, as the words probably resonate with you, can probably use water for a balancing effect. You can use whiskey breathing for a calming effect, and obviously you can use coffee breathing for a boosting or activating effect. So let's actually try to break these 3 approach down. Let's start with water breathing. So water breathing, we're looking at a balancing effect here. So water is good almost anytime. So anytime we're thirsty, we want to drink water. So here, similarly, this breathing technique is always good anytime we need some balance. And it's practical enough that you can even do it while playing. So it does not require as much effort as the whiskey breathing, for example, as you'll see later. So whenever you need to refocus when playing poker, I'd use this one technique. So it's around 6 to 10 breaths per minute. And we're talking about 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out. So 4 seconds inhales and 4 second exhales. And if you do the math, if you do roughly 8 breaths in 1 minute at 8 second a cycle, you'll get to 64 seconds, so roughly 1 minute. So that's the range between 6 and 10 breaths per minute. And obviously here you want to inhale and exhale through the nose, as we've mentioned before, nasal breathing. And we want to make sure that we activate the diaphragm so that we feel the abdomen expanding. That will get better, more air in our lungs, better oxygenation of our body. So to practice this breathing technique, let's first notice how we feel right now. And then let's try this breathing technique for 1 minute together. So you're going to control your inhales and exhales so that they last as close as possible to 4 seconds each. And so that requires some control over the amount of air you let in and out at any given time. So here, practice your ability to let the air come out in 4 seconds, and to let the air come in, in 4 seconds, and practice also your ability to let the air come out in 4 seconds as well. And so this can be tricky, just this practice. So let's actually try to practice it together. So I'll say in and out before every 4 second count. So I'll keep the count for you. So let's try it out. Take a comfortable position, feet on the ground if possible, hands wherever they feel most comfortable. Maybe you want to close your eyes if you're comfortable. And maybe you want to focus on your nostrils or your abdomen if you like. So breathe normally for now. And now breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. In and out. 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 And so that's about it. That's 1 minute of water breathing. So 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. How do you feel after just 1 minute of this type of breathing? What are your feelings, your physical sensations? What kind of thoughts do you have at the moment? Maybe you feel great, maybe you feel calm, maybe you feel composed, relaxed. maybe you also feel alert, right? So water breathing here, the purpose is not just to relax. Sometimes it's about finding this balance that allows you to be receptive and alert to play your best. So I'd say typically it's not just about feeling more calm and composed, it's also about feeling more alert. And I've heard from experience that some people actually feel sleepy because they're not used to having a breathing rate of 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. So for these people, that just tells you that you probably spend too much time with a 15 to 20 breaths per minute, which basically means you're always in your sympathetic nervous system until you go to sleep. So here we're actually trying to bring you in a more balanced state for your throughout your entire day. So we're hoping to get you to a balanced state instead of being in this hyperactive autonomic nervous system state of fight or flight. So that's it for the water breathing one. Now let's take some time to break down the whiskey breathing one. So here we're looking for a calming effect. And so based on this breathing technique, it's good for when we feel agitated or stressed, and especially when going to sleep. So I don't recommend it when you play, unless you really feel like you're about to explode, right? You feel this rage or fury in your body. Maybe that's the time to use this technique. So, but this technique can also be a good breathing exercise to try out before a big session as a warm-up. So think about the times you had a day 2 or some final tables, basically any situations where you might feel like you're overwhelmed. And it can also be very useful as a cool down exercise after a long session or before going to bed, like I mentioned earlier. So here we're talking about around 4 to 6 breaths per minute, and we're looking at a count, or we're aiming at 4 seconds in and 8 seconds out. So basically we're trying to do twice the exhales to the inhale. So the ratio is 2 to 1 here. And so this ratio is what allows your parasympathetic nervous system to kick in. So that's why we tried longer the exhales compared to the inhales. So again, inhale and exhale through the nose, and as little as 10 rounds will stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. So 10 rounds, that's roughly 10 times 12 seconds, 120 seconds. So that's basically 2 minutes, right? So quick maths. So let's try it out together here. We're going to try it for roughly 5 rounds. So roughly 1 minute again, just to see how it feels. And again, feel your body right now, your emotions, your thoughts. And so we'll check later to see how you feel after this breathing technique. Take a comfortable position, so feet on the ground if possible, hands wherever they feel most comfortable again. Close your eyes if you're comfortable and focus on your nostrils or your abdomen if you like. And so breathe normally until I start the count, and we'll do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to say in for 4 seconds and then out for 8 seconds, and we're going to repeat it 5 times for a total of 1 minute. So breathe normally. And now breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, and we're done. That's 1 minute of whiskey breathing. So how do you feel after 1 minute? Was it difficult to exhale for 8 seconds? My guess is probably so. And if so, that simply means that you need to practice your ability to control how fast you exhale. So when you try to exhale for 8 seconds, you're practicing your ability to manage the volume of air that you want in and out. And that's good because you'll get better at deep breathing from it. And my guess is that you either felt calm, relaxed, and sleepy if you did it right, or you actually activated and got agitated because you ran out of air before the 8 seconds mark, right? Like, I know that if you're not used to it, you'll start exhaling and after 4 or 5 seconds you run out of air and you're trying to hold until 8 seconds, and that might get you to feel more activated and agitated instead of feeling more calm and maybe even sleepy. And so that's okay. Keep practicing. And if it's too difficult, maybe lower your ratio to something like 2 seconds in and 4 seconds out to start. And then slowly build up to 3 seconds in, 3 seconds in and 6 seconds out. So we're getting to a cycle of 9 seconds. And try to get as close as possible to 4 seconds in and 8 seconds out for a full 12-second cycle as you get more comfortable. So that was whiskey breathing. Now let's look at the last but not least, coffee breathing. Here we're looking for a boosting effect. And just some warnings before we do this one. Make sure you don't do these exercises while driving or swimming, anything like this that could put you in danger. And that might seem obvious, but I'd rather make sure we take precautions here. And this last breathing technique, the coffee breathing here, it creates a boosting effect or activating effect in our body. So this might be uncomfortable for some people that don't like to feel their heart rate increasing, or that they might experience some anxiety already, or they have a hard time calming themselves. So maybe this breathing technique is not for everyone. It's nothing too extreme as well, but I still felt like I needed to say something here, or needed to say this before getting into it. So let's start trying out this coffee breathing technique. So when is it good for? It's basically good for whenever you need to get cranked up. So in the morning when you wake up, before exercising, maybe even as a warm-up when you feel lethargic or low energy. And the approach here is different. We're looking at some quick, fast, and forceful exhales through the nose using the belly. So using your abdominal muscles. And as little as 3 rounds of 20 repetitions will stimulate your sympathetic nervous system, so the fight or flight response. And so why this technique works is that, why is the technique working this way? Is that because with the rapid movements of the diaphragm, when you quickly and forcefully exhale using your abdominal muscles, well, that creates or liberates in the body adrenaline, which create an activation of your sympathetic nervous system. So just to give you an example of how it sounds like, typically what you do is you take somewhat of a deep breath, doesn't have to be a very deep breath, and then you quickly, forcefully exhale using the muscles of your belly, so your abdominal muscle, and it should sound something like this. So you're just trying to push some air out of your lungs using your abdominal muscles through your nose. So here we're going to try it together. Again, we're going to try to do 20 reps. So feel your body, your emotions, and your thoughts right now. And then take a comfortable position and breathe normally. And when I'll tell you, take a breath in, not too much, not too little, and do some short, forceful exhales through the nose using your abdominal muscles, like I've said. And so follow my rhythm. I'll do the count for 20 reps by clapping my fingers like this. So, all right, everyone's ready? And so go. 1, 2, 3. 20. How do you feel right now? You feel more activated? You feel your heart's pumping faster? You feel more energy? If you practice it for 3 rounds, you should start to feel it more in your body. Maybe take a 30-second break between each round. And as little, like I said, as 3 rounds of 20 repetition will get you into a sympathetic nervous system response, which will activate yourself. You will feel more energized. And so that's it for the 3 breathing techniques. And I have a little exercise here that you can use to track your progress with breathing. And so it was named after one of my friends who happens to be a mental performance coach as well. His name is Jason Boivin. And he came up with this idea of creating 3 levels of practice for the conscious breathing technique. So you have level 1 where you practice the water, whiskey, or coffee breathing for 1 minute or 1 round of 20 repetition, especially for the coffee one. And as you get better at it, you can increase to 5 minutes, that's level 2, and 10 minutes, that's level 3. And so that's just a great way to start practicing these different breathing techniques. And what's cool about how it's framed here is that you first identify your situation and you're fast about the situation. So you first describe your present situation. Do you need balancing, calming, or boosting? So here I give an example. I'm stressed coming into a day 2 of an important tournament. So that's my situation. I probably need some balancing. Maybe calming if I feel overwhelmed, but here I chose balancing. So describe your subjective experience. So I feel anxious. My actions, all my focus is on that tournament. My sensations, I feel agitated. And my thoughts, I'm worried I'll bust early. So this is my fast for that situation. And so I choose, like I said, 1 minute of water breathing to help me with the situation. And to give you an example, once I'm done, has your subjective experience of the situation changed? And if yes, how? So here, for example, I wrote, I feel calmer and in control. I'm less worried. So I've managed to modulate or change how I feel, my thoughts, less worried. In control, maybe that's my sensations and or my actions, more in control of my decisions. So you see how just using your breath, you can actually modulate or adjust, adapt your fast for your performance. So the more you practice it, the better you'll get at it and the more control you'll have over your subjective experience. So this is somewhat of an obvious example here, but you can basically use it for any of the emotions or sensations that you might feel in a particular situation. My guess is fear, anxiety, anger, frustration might be your top situation where you would want to use any breathing techniques. And typically it will be triggered by some sort of uncomfortable sensations, like feeling agitated or having some thoughts that are not going away, or maybe feeling a certain type of emotion. So those are your signals that maybe you want to use some breathing techniques to help you calm your body and your mind. And so to finish this section here, I'd like to present some of the principles related to sensation, so what we've discussed in the past videos. And so here are some of those principles I'd like you to keep in mind or to remember. So first, there's this mind and body connection. And so what that means is how you feel physically influences how you feel mentally, and how you feel mentally will influence how you feel physically. So something to remember is that your mind will fall in line, will come back to a balanced state once your nervous system falls in line as well. So once you've managed your nervous system, your physical sensations, this should help bring your mind back in line at the same time. And so until you manage to calm your body, it will be difficult to calm your mind, even if you use affirmations or injecting logic or rational thinking. And so vice versa, you need this. If inside your body you're calm and focused, now your thoughts will present themselves as such. So your thoughts will come in a more calm and natural way, instead of if your body is agitated or activated. So that's for the mind and body connection. Another thing to remember is that your autonomic nervous system has two response systems. So the fight or flight response, so your sympathetic nervous system, and the rest and digest response, which is your kind of recovery state or your balance state. And this is activated through your parasympathetic nervous system. Two principles related to breathing that we discussed earlier. Breathing can modulate the activation of your autonomic nervous system. So breathing can help with both your fight or flight response and your rest and digest response. So if you remember the breathing techniques we just discussed, your coffee breathing could be helpful to get into a fight or flight response, and your whiskey breathing or even the water breathing can help you get into a rest and digest response. We've also understood that breathing can modulate your physical sensations, so you can activate your body or calm your body based on what you want to feel in the moment while you're performing. And the last thing to remember is to activate your diaphragm and breathe through your nose for optimal respiration, optimal exchange of oxygen and CO2 in your body, and optimal autonomic nervous system response. So these are the principles related to sensations. Thanks for tuning in to this section, and see you in the next video, everyone. Take care.